Imagine, just for a moment, a single summer transfer window that doesn't just aim to polish a squad for a cup run,
Right.
but actively attempts to architect a dynasty.
A decade-long dynasty, really.
Exactly. We're talking about a heavily funded, meticulously mapped-out master plan, one designed to secure a 10-year reign of European dominance.
Yeah.
Because, look, we are sitting here in March 2026. The transfer window is firmly closed.
Tightly shut.
Pitches are getting heavy, and the title race is incredibly tense. But behind the scenes, away from the cameras,
That's where the real game is being played right now.
spot on. The board-level maneuvers, the tactical blueprints, the whispers and the corridors of power at Liverpool Football Club, they are running absolutely red hot.
They are.
We've got our hands on a detailed breakdown of a proposed summer war chest. This is orchestrated directly by manager Arne Slot and sporting director Richard Hughes. And the numbers alongside the specific tactical profiles being targeted, they are absolutely staggering.
They really are. I mean, we're looking at a projected financial outlay that easily eclipses the 300 million euro mark.
Massive.
But our mission for this deep dive with you today isn't just to throw massive valuations at you or casually list off a few high-profile transfer rumors.
No, anyone can do that.
Right. We're going to deconstruct the why behind the who.
Yeah.
Why are these specific 5 players operating in very distinct areas of the pitch being targeted?
What's the logic?
Exactly. What does this aggressive shopping list reveal about the systemic vulnerabilities currently plaguing Liverpool's tactical setup? And crucially, we need to analyze how this specific combination of profiles could theoretically transform a highly competitive squad into an impenetrable European machine for the next 5 years.
So welcome to the conversation. It's great to have you with us as we unpack this. Get comfortable because we are diving deep into the architecture of modern squad building.
It's going to be a fascinating one.
To understand the proposed cure, we first have to rigorously diagnose the disease.
You have to find the leak.
Right, so let's look at the primary catalyst for this massive proposed surgery. Liverpool's current defensive vulnerabilities.
The numbers are stark.
There is a statistic in these notes that fundamentally reframes how we should view their current season. 35 goals conceded in the Premier League.
Yeah.
We all know that's high. But the context is what makes it severe. That is 10 more goals conceded than Manchester City. 10 goals. When you consider how tight the margins are at the absolute pinnacle of English football, a 10-goal deficit in your defensive column isn't just a crack in the foundation, it's a structural failure.
It's completely structural. And what it does is it forces a team to play perfectly in the final third just to survive.
Which you can't do every week.
You can't. It is completely unsustainable over a 38-game season. And this is exactly why the source material points out that the squad requires surgery, not palliatives.
I love that phrasing, surgery, not palliatives.
Because a palliative approach is it's buying a stopgap veteran on a free transfer to cover an injury.
A plaster over a bullet wound.
Right. But surgery is recognizing that those 35 goals conceded are a symptom of a much deeper systemic decay.
Yeah.
When you analyze the current squad profile, the ticking clocks become deafening.
They really do. Let's start with the central pillar then. Virgil van Dijk.
The captain.
The captain. He remains a phenomenal reader of the game, absolutely elite. But the physical reality is unavoidable. He is no longer 25.
No, he's not.
The recovery pace required to maintain a high defensive line, the exact type of line Arne Slot demands, inevitably wanes.
It's biology. Managing the physical decline of a generational center back is arguably the most delicate operation a sporting director can undertake.
It's terrifying.
You cannot wait until he falls off a cliff physically. The succession plan has to be integrated while he is still performing at a high level.
And the complication there is that you aren't just looking for a player with good defensive metrics. You are trying to replace a tactical monument.
A monument is the right word.
You need someone who can organize an entire back four while simultaneously launching 60-yard diagonal passes perfectly onto a winger's toe.
Which is an incredibly rare profile.
But the anxiety at the back isn't solely about aging, is it? The notes highlight a brewing contractual crisis that amplifies all of this instability.
The Konate situation.
Ibrahima Konate's contract situation remains dangerously undefined.
It's a massive risk.
We are looking at a prime-age center back whose long-term future is entirely up in the air at the exact moment the club needs defensive certainty. How does that uncertainty ripple through a dressing room and a boardroom?
Well, it creates a tremendous amount of leverage for the players' camp.
Of course.
And conversely, it paralyzes the club's financial forecasting. If Konate's contract remains unresolved, Liverpool faces the nightmare scenario of either losing a premium asset on a free transfer,
which is unthinkable,
or being forced into a panic sale at a massively reduced market rate.
Neither is acceptable for a club of this size.
But the structural issues don't end in the center of the defense.
No, they don't.
If we look at the right flank, this situation upgrades from a concern to a full-blown crisis.
It's desperate over there. Connor Bradley is out long-term.
Yeah.
Jeremy Frimpong, who was supposed to provide that elite depth and attacking thrust, is also injured. He hasn't seen the pitch in a significant amount of time.
So, mechanically speaking, if you have an injury-ravaged right flank, the right-sided center back, whether that's Konate or someone else, is constantly getting dragged out wide into the channels.
To cover the space the fullback has vacated?
Exactly. And that inevitably stretches the distance between the two center backs. It opens up the central corridors, which directly contributes to those 35 goals conceded.
It is a complete domino effect. Honestly, it's a testament to Slot's tactical pragmatism that the team remains highly competitive while managing a defensive crisis of this magnitude.
It's incredible they're still in the mix.
It really underscores why Fenway Sports Group, FSG, has to fully back him to address these specific holes.
And we haven't even touched upon the looming offensive cloud, which might actually be the most psychologically damaging factor of all.
The Salah situation.
Mohamed Salah's future is becoming increasingly precarious. There are very strong, persistent rumors pointing to a blockbuster move to Al Ittihad in the summer of 2026.
It just won't go away. We have to report on the sources, and the sources say it's a very real possibility. And obviously, we aren't taking a stance on the politics of that league or anything. We're just conveying what the transfer reality looks like based on the material.
Absolutely. The footballing reality is that the entire attacking structure of the club for the better part of a decade has been built around Salah's gravity on the right wing.
So for you listening, you are looking at a scenario where you have a leaking, aging defense, a decimated right flank, and the potential departure of your primary goal scorer and global talisman.
It's staggering.
They aren't just looking at transfer window, they are looking at a regime change on the pitch.
A total rebuild of the core.
But as we know from analyzing elite tactical setups, if you want to fix a leaking defense, you don't just buy defenders.
No, that's too late.
You first have to stop the pressure from ever reaching them. You need to control the transitions. And that brings us to the first major target on this 300 million euro master plan. Let's look at the midfield engine, Angelo Stiller.
The profile of Angelo Stiller is fascinating, truly fascinating, because it addresses multiple tactical deficiencies simultaneously.
Let's break down the background first. 24 years old, currently operating as a defensive midfielder for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga.
Valued at roughly 45 million euros.
Right. But what caught my eye immediately in these notes is the incredibly complex contractual situation surrounding him.
It's a brilliant bit of business structure.
It is. He has a release clause of 36.5 million euros that becomes active in the summer of 2026. However, Stuttgart possesses a trump card.
They do.
They have the contractual right to block this entire 36.5 million euro release clause by paying Stiller a direct fee of 2 million euros.
Cash straight to the player.
Exactly. If they decline to pay him that 2 million, the clause goes live and any club can trigger it. Game theory in football contracts is always interesting, but I have rarely seen a mechanism quite like this. What is the strategic logic behind a clause structured this way?
It is a brilliantly engineered, albeit highly unusual, retention mechanism. It essentially forces the club's hierarchy to make a definitive financial commitment to the player's value.
Right. Put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. Stuttgart has to weigh the immediate unamortized cost of handing over 2 million euros in cash against the inevitable loss of a player whose open market valuation sits comfortably at 45 million.
It gives the player financial leverage.
Gives the player leverage while giving the club a very narrow window to protect their asset. For a club like Liverpool, navigating this requires incredible timing.
How so?
They have to exert enough pressure to make Stiller want the move, potentially forcing Stuttgart into a position where paying the 2 million feels like a wasted investment if the player's head is already completely turned.
Why pay him 2 million to stay if he's going to be unhappy and agitate for a move in January anyway?
Precisely.
But let's look at why Liverpool is willing to engage in this contractual chess match in the first place. The tactical fit seems to be the main driver. The sources explicitly highlight that Stiller is left-footed.
Crucial detail.
We hear that term thrown around a lot as a premium trait. But in the context of Arne Slot's build-up play, how does a left-footed defensive midfielder actually change the geometry of the pitch compared to a right-footed player in the exact same role?
It completely alters the pressing triggers for the opposition.
Okay, break that down for us.
When a left-footed player receives the ball at the base of the midfield, particularly on the left-hand side of a double pivot, their natural body orientation opens up toward the center of the pitch and the opposite flank.
Because they're receiving it on the half turn.
Exactly. They can receive a pass from the left back or the left-sided center back on their back foot and immediately play a progressive line-breaking pass diagonally across the pitch.
Without needing to take that extra touch to shift their body weight.
Without that extra touch. In modern football, that half-second saved is the difference between bypassing a high press and being completely trapped by it.
That makes total sense. The sources describe him as a metronome, possessing brilliant positional awareness.
A metronome implies he dictates the tempo rather than just reacting to it.
Yeah, the notes actually mention that he reads the game as if he has a script in his pocket. But if he's primarily a defensive midfielder doing the so-called dirty work, why is that reading of the game so critical?
Because elite defensive midfield play isn't actually about tackling.
It's not.
No, it's about spatial anticipation. If Stiller can anticipate where the ball is going to turn over, he positions himself to intercept rather than having to sprint and slide tackle.
The Maldini quote, right? If I have to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake.
Exactly. By acting as that highly intelligent anchor, he provides absolute security behind Alexis McAllister.
Now we're talking about the knock-on effects.
Right. But perhaps the most crucial downstream effect of signing Stiller is what it does for Ryan Gravenberch.
Unlocking the 8.
Yes. When your box-to-box or creative midfielders are constantly worried about defensive transitions, their positioning becomes conservative. They sit deeper.
They hesitate.
They do. If Stiller is reliably shielding the backline, Gravenberch is granted the absolute license to roam freely into the final third.
You are essentially buying an insurance policy that allows your most creative players to take higher risks.
Bon on.
And Stiller isn't exactly a black hole in possession either. Even operating from that deep role, he has registered 5 assists in 22 Bundesliga games this season.
5 assists from the 6 is a serious return.
He is initiating the attack, not just breaking down the oppositions.
He's the complete package for that system.
But here is the friction point. Liverpool isn't operating in a vacuum. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich are reportedly circling.
Of course they are.
If Stiller is this much of a tactical skeleton key, how dangerous is it for Liverpool to try and haggle over a few million euros here?
It would be a catastrophic error in judgment.
Really? Catastrophic?
Absolutely. When institutions like Real Madrid and Bayern Munich enter the fray, your margin for error just evaporates. They have the financial muscle and the prestige to turn a player's head overnight.
They just show up with a blank check.
Right. If Liverpool identifies Stiller as the exact profile required to fix their midfield transition vulnerability, losing him because they hesitated over a minor fee discrepancy would be a massive strategic failure.
It sets a tone of indecision in a window where they need absolute ruthlessness.
You have to act decisively.
So, assuming they execute ruthlessly, they secure the metronome, the midfield is shielded, and the creative players are unlocked.
Step 1 complete.
But as we mapped out at the start, if the right flank is still decimated by the long-term absences of Bradley and Frimpong, a stable midfield only delays the inevitable.
You still have a massive structural hole out wide.
You need an immediate elite-level intervention at right back, and the master plan points to a player who addresses both the immediate crisis and the long-term future. Givairo Read.
Givairo Read is an absolutely fascinating target because it blends highly advanced data scouting with a very deep personal managerial connection.
Let's look at the profile for a second. He is 19 years old, born in Amsterdam in June 2006.
Frighteningly young.
Currently contracted to Feyenoord until 2028, with evaluations sitting between 25 and 30 million euros.
Right.
The emotional and strategic through line here is impossible to ignore. Read developed straight through the youth system at Feyenoord, which is, of course, Arne Slot's former club.
The connection is direct.
Bringing a teenager into a high-stakes Premier League rebuild is inherently risky. But does that pre-existing relationship with the manager mitigate the gamble?
It mitigates the most dangerous part of any transfer, which is the adaptation risk.
The culture shock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Arne Slot doesn't just know Read's data. He knows his psychological makeup. He knows how the kid absorbs tactical instructions, how he responds to making a mistake in front of 50,000 people.
He knows his character.
Yes. And exactly how his physical attributes map onto Slot's specific demands for a fullback. In a system where the right back is often asked to invert into midfield or hold the width, depending on the game state.
Which is incredibly complex for a 19-year-old.
Having a player who already speaks the manager's tactical language is invaluable. Furthermore, there's a cultural alignment here. The source material notes that Read is a dedicated Liverpool supporter.
A massive fan.
When presented with a hypothetical choice between Manchester City and Liverpool, he explicitly and publicly chose Liverpool.
He literally said, Liverpool for sure. Nothing else, nobody else.
That's quite a statement.
That level of intrinsic motivation matters when a player hits the inevitable rough patch of form in a new league. You want players who want to bleed for the shirt.
It absolutely helps.
But let's play devil's advocate regarding the business side. 25 to 30 million euros for a 19-year-old right back who hasn't played in a top 5 European league.
I know where you're going with this.
Some factions of a fan base, or even members of a board, might view that as an exorbitant fee for potential rather than proven production.
If we contextualize that fee within the current realities of the European market, 25 to 30 million euros for a 19-year-old with tangible Champions League experience is not an overpay.
It's not.
No, it is a calculated market inefficiency. You aren't just paying for what he is today, you are securing an asset whose value will likely triple if he succeeds in the Premier League.
That's the FSG model right there.
And we have to look at the metrics that justify that valuation. We are talking about a defender who has already been pressure tested against elite, world-class opposition.
And the notes provide a staggering piece of evidence for that. In a match against top-tier opposition, Read recorded a 91% success or save rate specifically when tasked with neutralizing Rafa. We are talking about one of the most explosive, terrifying wingers in world football, a player who routinely dismantles seasoned international defenders.
He destroys careers on that wing.
How does a 19-year-old achieve a 91% success rate against a player like Lyon? Is it pure pace, or is it positional discipline?
It has to be a combination of both. But at that elite level, it is primarily anticipation and body positioning.
Reading the intention.
Right. Rafa thrives on isolation and explosive acceleration. If a 19-year-old is shutting him down, it means the defender isn't diving into tackles. He is dictating the space.
Showing him down blind alleys.
He is showing Leão into covering defenders or forcing him into low-probability areas. That is a metric that fundamentally alters how scouting departments view a player.
It's a gold star on the report.
It proves a level of tactical maturity that far exceeds his age. And it is precisely why Liverpool cannot afford to play waiting game here.
Because when you put a leash on Rafa, the secret is officially out.
Exactly. The secret is completely out. The source material confirms that Bayern Munich and Manchester City are actively monitoring his situation.
Their city again.
With Bradley and Frimpong out, Liverpool isn't in a position to monitor. They have to act. Securing Read solves the immediate depth crisis on the right flank today, and theoretically locks down the position for the next decade.
If Liverpool balks at the 30 million euro valuation, Manchester City will happily pay it.
Without a second thought.
And Liverpool will spend the next 10 years trying to attack down a flank defended by a player they could have had.
It's a sliding doors moment.
Okay, so let's take stock for a moment. You have Stiller providing the metronomic control and the defensive shield in the midfield.
Yep.
You have Read stepping in to aggressively plug the leaking right flank while providing a decade of stability.
Right side sorted.
You've insulated the defense, but you haven't actually fixed the core issue. The 35 goals conceded and the ticking clock on Virgil van Dijk.
The heart of the matter.
You still require immediate decisive surgery at the absolute heart of the defense. And this is where the master plan diverges into two distinct yet equally massive targets.
This is the most complex part of the strategy.
The sources frame this as the immediate fix versus the ultimate dream. Let's dig into the longest and most analytical part of this proposed rebuild, starting with the immediate solution. Nico Schlotterbeck.
The pursuit of Nico Schlotterbeck represents highly pragmatic, highly targeted squad building.
Yeah.
We are looking at a 26-year-old German international currently anchoring the Borussia Dortmund defense.
Valued at roughly 50 million euros.
Right.
But the crucial piece of leverage here is his contract situation. His current deal expires at the end of the season,
which completely changes the negotiation dynamics.
Let's look at his physical and tactical profile because it perfectly mirrors what we discussed earlier regarding Angelo Stiller. Schlotterbeck is 1.90 meters tall, physically dominant in the air, but crucially, he is a left-footed center back with elite ball control.
There's that left foot again.
Why is that left-footed profile at center back so highly coveted by top managers right now?
It fundamentally changes the speed and angle of build-up play.
Just like in the midfield.
Exactly the same principle. If you play a right-footed player at left center back, every time they receive the ball from the left back, they have to take a touch inside to open up their body to the rest of the pitch.
They close themselves off.
Right. That fraction of a second is the trigger for elite pressing teams to collapse on them. A left-footed center back like Schlotterbeck receives the ball naturally on his back foot, instantly opening up passing lanes down the left flank or driving diagonal balls into the right half spaces.
He brings a level of progressive carrying and passing that immediately upgrades Liverpool's ability to beat the first line of an opposition press.
It's an instant upgrade.
And he has the pedigree to handle the pressure. Since his €20 million transfer from Freiburg in 2022, he has racked up 150 appearances for Dortmund.
That's serious mileage in a massive club.
He isn't a prospect. He is a fully realized, battle-tested asset. The notes mention that Richard Hughes and Arne Slot have already engaged in positive dialogue with his representatives.
Laying the groundwork.
They are. But in the transfer market, positive dialogue with the player is only half the battle. You have to navigate the selling club. And this is where the specter of Real Madrid enters the conversation.
This is a critical point regarding boardroom politics.
Let's hear it.
While Liverpool may be highly attractive to the player, Real Madrid possesses a historically entrenched, highly cooperative relationship with the Borussia Dortmund hierarchy.
We saw it with Jude Bellingham.
We saw it with Bellingham. We've seen it with numerous other dealings over the years. When a player's contract is running down, the selling club wants to engineer a bidding war or direct the player toward the club that will offer the most favorable structured deal.
So Dortmund might nudge him towards Madrid.
Real Madrid's institutional leverage is a massive obstacle.
The source material is remarkably blunt about this. It asks, what are we playing for if we let Real Madrid steal another of our targets?
It's a fair question.
It frames Schlotterbeck not just as a defensive necessity, but as a test of Liverpool's clout in the market. They cannot afford to be the bridesmaid again.
Especially not for a €50 million player.
Schlotterbeck is the immediate title-hungry solution. You pair his progressive left foot and aerial dominance alongside Van Dijk, and suddenly those 35 goals conceded start to look like an anomaly rather than a trend.
He is the plug for the immediate leak.
But as you said, he's the immediate fix.
He's the highly effective, necessary choice for the present. But an elite sporting director doesn't just build for August. They build for the next 5 years.
Right.
If Schlotterbeck addresses the immediate crisis, the second defensive target outlined in the master plan addresses the generational shift. The sources refer to this player as the ultimate dream.
When I first read this name in the brief, it genuinely stopped me in my tracks.
I don't blame you.
Alessandro Bastoni.
Incredible.
The 26-year-old cornerstone of the Inter Milan defense, valued anywhere between 90 and 100 million euros.
Astronomical money.
The source says this is the type of rumor that makes you spit out your tea, and I completely understand why. Bastoni is a unicorn in modern football.
He really is.
He blends the brutal, uncompromising discipline of traditional Italian defending with the technical elegance and vision of deep-lying playmaker.
That specific hybridization is incredibly rare.
Usually you get one or the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You typically have to compromise. You draft the bruising enforcer who clears everything but panics on the ball, or you draft the elegant ball player who struggles in physical aerial duels.
Bastoni excels at both.
He does. And if we look at his production metrics from this season, they are astonishing for a central defender.
Let's hear them.
2 goals, 6 assists, and 14 clean sheets in 35 appearances.
That's ridiculous.
Those are offensive numbers you would expect from a premium central midfielder, let alone a center back.
6 assists from a central defender. That means he isn't just safely recycling possession to the nearest fullback. He is actively dismantling defensive blocks.
He's the primary playmaker.
He is seeing the overlapping runs of the wingers and executing line-breaking passes that lead directly to goals. The source explicitly states that Liverpool views Bastoni as the true long-term successor to Virgil van Dijk.
The heir to the throne.
He is the player you hand the keys to for the next era. But let me push back on the realism of this for a second.
Go on.
Bastoni is the golden boy of Inter Milan. They are a Champions League club. Why would they ever entertain selling a player central to their identity even for 100 million euros?
That is the primary friction point of this entire master plan. Inter Milan has no intrinsic desire to sell Alessandro Bastoni. None.
Right. So why are we talking about him?
Because the financial realities of Serie A compared to the Premier League dictate that almost every single player has a threshold valuation.
Everyone has a price.
Exactly. If Liverpool approaches that 90 to 100 million euro mark, fiduciary responsibility basically forces Inter to the table.
They can't ignore that kind of cash.
But, as you pointed out, Liverpool would not be operating in a vacuum. A player of Bastoni's caliber becoming available triggers an immediate, continent-wide bidding war.
Everyone wants him.
The notes confirm that Arsenal, Barcelona, Chelsea, and Manchester City are all heavily monitoring his situation.
It would be an absolute financial bloodbath to secure his signature.
A total war.
So, the question for you listening becomes, is it realistic to expect Liverpool to drop 100 million on Bastoni in the exact same window they are trying to fund Stiller, Read, and Schlotterbeck?
It's a huge stretch.
Perhaps not. But let's indulge the tactical fantasy for a moment. Let's say they pull it off. The source material paints a picture of pairing Bastoni and Schlotterbeck alongside a veteran Van Dijk.
The tactical implications of that specific trio are profound.
The sources refer to it as a fortress on legs.
It really would be.
Yeah.
You're combining Schlotterbeck's aerial dominance and progressive carrying with Bastoni's elite playmaking and Italian defensive grit, all anchored by Van Dijk's organizational leadership.
Unbeatable.
From a structural standpoint, it would allow Arne Slot to seamlessly transition into a highly fluid back three in possession, pushing the fullbacks like Givairo Read incredibly high up the pitch, knowing that the defensive foundation is completely impenetrable.
And capable of dictating the tempo entirely from the back. You essentially evolve from a team conceding 35 goals to possessing arguably the most dominant, technically gated backline in European football.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
It beautifully illustrates the dual timeline of this master plan. Schlotterbeck is the immediate tactical fix. Bastoni is the architectural future.
Spot on.
But, as any football fan knows, a fortress only ensures you don't lose. It doesn't guarantee you win.
You still have to score.
To win, you need a spearhead. And if the rumors hold true and Mohamed Salah departs for Al Ittihad, Liverpool is facing a superstar-sized void in their attack.
A void that's almost impossible to fill.
You cannot replace Salah's historical output with a promising 20-year-old prospect. The pressure would destroy them. You need a proven elite asset.
Which brings us to the final and perhaps most glamorous piece of the 300 million euro puzzle.
The crown jewel.
The pursuit of Rodrygo.
Rodrygo. The 25-year-old Brazilian international currently sitting at Real Madrid.
Mostly sitting, unfortunately, for him.
Valued at roughly 80 million euros, with reports suggesting an offer has already been formulated.
The wheels are in motion.
The narrative surrounding this potential transfer is incredibly compelling. Here is an absolutely elite technical talent. A player with a proven pedigree of scoring massive goals in the Champions League, essentially being marginalized.
Forced to the fringes.
He is being wasted on the bench, while the gravitational pull of Kylian Mbappe steals every headline and dictates the entire tactical setup in Madrid.
It is the classic dilemma of a Galactico squad building strategy.
Too many cucks.
When a club hoards premium talent, elite players inevitably become collateral damage. Rodrygo is not a rotational squad player. He possesses the underlying metrics and the technical ability to be the primary offensive weapon for almost any club in the world.
He walks into almost any starting 11.
He does. What makes this move so tactically astute for Liverpool is the perfect alignment of player motivation and club necessity. Rodrygo is desperate for consistent starting 11 minutes.
He wants to be the main man.
He wants to be the focal point, not the supporting act. Furthermore, he has a stated preference for operating on the left wing, where he can cut inside on his favored right foot.
That raises an interesting tactical wrinkle, though. If Salah leaves, the glaring hole is on the right wing.
Right.
If Rodrygo prefers the left, does Arne Slot shift his entire attacking geometry? Does he move Luis Diaz or Cody Gakpo? Or does he trust Rodrygo's elite technical floor to adapt to the right side?
It's a great question.
Either way, the source is emphatic. Liverpool does not need a development project. If the Egyptian king departs, they need a ready-made, Champions League-proven star.
And Rodrygo fits that bill perfectly.
Rodrygo has navigated the intense, unforgiving pressure cooker of the Santiago Bernabeu. He won't be intimidated by the expectations at Anfield.
That psychological resilience is exactly why the €80 million valuation is justified. Replacing a club legend is an almost impossible task.
The ghost of Salah will hang over that right wing for years.
Exactly. If you bring in an unproven player, the fan base and the media will scrutinize every missed pass through the lens of Salah's ghost. By bringing in a recognized world-class talent like Rodrygo, you instantly change the narrative.
It's a statement of intent.
The signal to the dressing room and the league is clear. We are not in a rebuilding phase. We are reloading for an immediate title charge.
Reloading rather than rebuilding. I love that distinction. But there is a dark timeline associated with Rodrygo that we have to address. What happens if Liverpool hesitates or refuses to meet the €80 million valuation and Manchester City swoops in?
It would be a catastrophic double blow.
A nightmare.
You fail to replace your own talisman's offensive output, and simultaneously, you hand a highly motivated, elite, ready-made superstar directly to your primary domestic rival.
The rich get richer.
The psychological damage of seeing Rodrygo lifting trophies in a sky blue shirt while Liverpool scrambles to find a viable winger on deadline day, it would be immense. In the modern game, sometimes you pay the premium valuation simply to deny the asset to your enemy.
So when we pull all these intricate threads together, what does the complete tapestry look like? We are staring at a proposed master plan that is breathtaking in its ambition and scope.
It's historically ambitious.
Stiller, Read, Schlotterbeck, Bastoni, and Rodrygo. Let's do the rough math based on the reported valuation.
Let's hear it.
$45 million for Stiller. Let's say a conservative $30 million for Read. $50 million for Schlotterbeck. Up to $100 million for Bastoni. And $80 million for Rodrygo. You are comfortably blasting past the €300 million mark.
It is a staggering level of financial commitment. But the crucial takeaway from analyzing these specific targets is the underlying logic.
It's not just a scattergun approach.
Not at all. We have seen clubs spend €300 million in a single window with disastrous, disjointed results because they bought names rather than profiles.
We won't name names, but we've all seen it in the Premier League.
We certainly have. This master plan is surgical. It addresses every systemic vulnerability with absolute precision. You secure the defensive midfielder in Stiller to dictate tempo and unlock the advanced creatives. You acquire the 10-year solution at right back in Read to fix the immediate injury crisis. You bring in Schlotterbeck as the elite, short-term defensive stabilizer. You target Bastoni as the ultimate long-term successor to Van Dijk, and you recruit Rodrygo to immediately fill the superstar void left by Salah.
It is a complete interlocking tactical matrix.
It really is.
It's like looking at a high-performance engine, identifying every single worn-out gasket and misfiring spark plug, and replacing them entirely with bespoke premium components.
That's a great analogy.
And we must remember the historical context of the ownership. FSG, Fenway Sports Group, are generally conservative with their spending.
They are.
But they have historically opened the checkbook when the path to dominance is undeniably clear. We saw it with the transformational signings of Alisson and Van Dijk. When they believe the final pieces of the puzzle are available, they will fund the operation.
And the prize-securing domestic and European dominance for the next half-decade has rarely been clearer. Arne Slot has demonstrated an elite level of tactical pragmatism by keeping the current structurally flawed squad highly competitive.
He's working miracles, really.
He is navigating a leaky defense, a devastated right flank, and aging core players, yet still grinding out results. The underlying hypothesis of this entire €300 million investment is simple.
What is it?
If Slot can extract this level of performance from a compromised squad, what could he achieve if you handed him a meticulously custom-built machine?
It is a prospect that should genuinely terrify the rest of the Premier League. And it brings me to a question for you listening right now. We've laid out the entire blueprint. We've analyzed the clauses, the tactical fits, and the massive valuations.
We covered the lot.
If you were sitting in Richard Hughes's chair holding the keys to the war chest, which of these 5 signings do you prioritize first? Do you trigger Stiller's complex release clause immediately to secure the midfield?
Or do you prioritize stopping the bleeding in defense with Schlotterbeck?
Or do you make the massive statement of intent by bringing in Rodrygo to ensure the attack doesn't miss a beat? The sequencing of these moves will be just as critical as the targets themselves.
The order of operations will certainly dictate the momentum of the entire summer window.
To quickly summarize the sheer scale of what we've unpacked today, Liverpool is reportedly staring down a 2026 summer transfer window that could define the next decade of European football.
Easily.
They are seeking to eradicate a 35-goal defensive leak and navigate an aging core by targeting Angelo Stiller's metronomic control, Givairo Read's youthful dominance on the right flank, the immediate and long-term defensive fortresses of Nico Schlotterbeck and Alessandro Bastoni, and finally, rescuing Rodrygo from the Real Madrid bench to serve as the new attacking crown jewel of Anfield.
It is an immaculate strategic blueprint on paper. But I want to leave you with one final, perhaps counterintuitive angle to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's assume FSG executes this flawlessly. They authorize the $300 million. They navigate the clauses and the bidding wars. They hand Arne Slot this practically perfect, custom-built super team.
The dream scenario.
Does that entirely shift the psychological burden? Think about it. With a fortress on legs anchoring the defense and the Rodrygo-led attack, the developmental grace period instantly vanishes.
Oh, wow.
The question is no longer whether Liverpool has the tools to compete with Manchester City and Real Madrid. The question becomes whether Arne Slot can manage the immense, crushing weight of commanding a €300 million super team.
Where anything less than a treble might suddenly be perceived as a failure.
Exactly. The pressure shifts entirely from the boardroom to the dugout.
You buy the perfect squad, but you also buy the crushing expectation of absolute perfection. That is a brilliant final thought to chew on.
It's the reality of modern football.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It has been incredibly fascinating deconstructing the tactical and financial architecture of this proposed master plan with you. Keep questioning the rumors, keep exploring the tactics, and keep looking for the why behind the beautiful game. We will catch you on the next deep dive.